So, have you ever really stopped to think about what happens in the moments after we die? I mean, what if there's a detailed ancient guide that maps out that whole journey? Well, today we're diving into the Tibetan Buddhist understanding of death, based on this incredible text, Death, Intermediate State, and Rebirth. And trust me, it's probably unlike anything you've ever heard before.
You know, we usually think of death as the switch being flipped. The heart stops, everything goes dark, and that's it, right? But what if I told you that according to this ancient map of consciousness, that final moment isn't even the halfway point of the journey? What if death isn't a final destination, but this profound process with its own very specific signposts?
Right, so the main idea we're digging into here is that death isn't just one single event, it's a process. It's a systematic, predictable, and incredibly detailed sequence of dissolutions that actually starts long before our last breath. So, what does this process really look like?
Okay, let's just put the two views side by side. On one hand, you've got the common belief. Heart stops, game over. But this text describes an 8-stage journey where our body and mind slowly, systematically let go. It's really an inner journey that takes us right to the very core of what we are.
This 8-stage process is really the heart of our explainer. I want you to think of it almost like a reverse creation, where all our physical senses and our thoughts dissolve one by one, revealing this pure, subtle consciousness that was there the whole time.
The journey is basically broken into two big parts. First, you have the 4 physical elements our bodies are made of, earth, water, fire, and wind. They start to lose their power to support our mind. After that, we get into 4 mental dissolutions, where consciousness itself unwinds into its most fundamental state. Let's start with the physical.
All right, stage 1 begins with the earth element dissolving. That's everything solid in our body. The person feels incredibly weak, almost like they're sinking into the ground. Externally, the body gets thinner. It loses its healthy glow. But internally, their vision starts to shimmer and waver, kind of like seeing heat rise off a hot road in the summer.
Next up, the water element. All of our bodily fluids starts to dry up. Externally, this means things like saliva and sweat just stop. The sense of hearing fades into total silence. Internally, that shimmering mirage vision, it shifts, and now it looks like a swirling cloud of smoke filling their mind. Then, in stage 3, the fire element, which governs our body heat, it dissolves. The person can't digest anything, and their breathing becomes really labored. Now, imagine seeing that cloud of smoke, but then tiny bright sparks start flickering inside of it. That's the internal vision here, and at the same time, memory also starts to fade. And now we've reached that critical moment. The wind element dissolves, and the person stops breathing. Externally, this is what we call clinical death. But for the consciousness inside, the most important part of the journey is literally just beginning. The inner vision is now like a single, sputtering flame just about to go out.
And right there, that's the huge difference, isn't it? From the perspective of this text, the most profound, most important part of the dying process starts now. The consciousness is still there, and it's about to go through its most radical transformation yet.
So now we move from the body into the mind itself. First, all our everyday thoughts and worries just fade away, and we experience this vast, empty space filled with a brilliant white light. Then, that light dissolves into a vibrant, powerful red. After that, we fall into a deep, deep darkness, almost like a dreamless sleep. But out of that darkness emerges the final, most profound state, the clear light of death. It's a state of pure, boundless awareness. This is the true moment of death.
After resting in that clear light, the consciousness separates from the body and enters what's known as the bardo. It's a gap, an intermediate state. Think of it as the transitional period between one life and the next. So what exactly happens in this in-between place?
Well, in the bardo, we're not just some disembodied spirit floating around. We actually have a kind of light body with all our senses intact and even the ability to read minds. We can go anywhere just by thinking about it, passing right through walls and mountains. But here's the catch. We're not free. We're pulled by all the habits and patterns of our past life, just restlessly searching for our next home.
So, what's the one thing that matters most at this absolutely crucial time? What is it that determines where we go next? According to the source, the single most powerful factor is your state of mind as you are dying.
It's pretty stark. If you die with a mind that's full of peace and love and compassion, the journey is actually beautiful. It feels like moving out of darkness and into brilliant light, and you're just naturally drawn to a happy rebirth. But if you die with anger or fear in your heart, The experience is terrifying. You feel like you're being plunged into darkness, pulled toward a difficult new life.
And look, you don't have to just take my word for it. His Holiness the Dalai Lama emphasizes this exact point in the foreword to this very text. He says our final attitude is absolutely paramount, because even someone who's practiced their whole life can be thrown off course by just one moment of anger or attachment, which can then activate negative patterns and change the entire trajectory of their journey.
Now, here's where this ancient map of dying becomes incredibly relevant to our daily lives. It turns out, this complex 8-stage process isn't something that only happens once, at the very end.
Believe it or not, we actually go through a mini-death and rebirth every single day. When we fall asleep, our consciousness dissolves through a similar, though less complete, sequence of stages. It happens when we faint. It even happens during an orgasm. This pattern is woven right into the fabric of our being, which kind of means every night is a dress rehearsal for the final performance.
So, what this really means is that this ancient map of death is actually a map of ourselves. It reveals that studying death is really about studying life. It's this profound exploration of the subtle layers of our own mind that are constantly operating, mostly unnoticed, just beneath the surface of our normal waking reality.
And that brings us to a final, pretty provocative thought. If the way we live truly shapes the way we die, and if the process of dying is something we literally rehearse every single night, how is your daily life preparing you for that final journey?